Hello all, Franklin Ruff here again, and today what I decided I wanted to do a part 2 to a video idea called Being an ISTJ and Being a Pastor. And in doing this today, what I did was I pulled out a lot of my materials that I got from being a certified MBTI practitioner. I have Understanding Your Type 2 Results that I looked at. Another book that we get is Introduction to Type. And what I decided to do was go, and I also have my type description. And what I decided to do was go and look at the description of the ISTJ. Look at our strengths and weaknesses, examine myself, and talk about what I saw as strengths and weaknesses that I had as a pastor based on what the description of the ISTJ is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at this report and talk about how that has affected my ability to pastor and how it's helped. And we'll also talk about some of the areas where it hasn't been as much of a help. So the first thing it says that ISTJs are mainly interested in the realities they perceive with their 5 senses. In other words, can we see it? Can we smell it? Can we taste it? Can we touch it? And from a pastoral standpoint, what I have found, especially from a preaching standpoint, is that I have to, in order to be able to do that effectively, I have to get in touch with my intuitive side. I have to use my intuition. It's not a matter of wanting to do it. I have to do it in order to be able to proclaim the word of Jesus Christ effectively. Because if I don't, what's going to happen is I'm going to just be giving these basic 3-point sermons that were very well ordered, very well structured, that talk about these things that are concrete, and it's not going to reach a portion of my congregation. Another thing it says about the ISTJ is that they know what has worked in the past and base their decisions on facts and experience. And here's where that can help being a pastor. We look at what has worked for the body, for the church. And you say, okay, if this has worked, is it still working? And that's the question. If we can look at something and say, okay, this worked in the past, but in the recent past, and in the present, it has not been working, then we'll be open to new ideas. We'll be open to change. But if it is working now, and it has worked in the past, and you want to do something new, we are going to be a little bit more skeptical, because the thing is, okay, why do you want to try this when this is working? Now, if you can honestly say it's not working, or if you can show me where it's not working as well. Maybe it's working, but it's just not working as well. Okay, well, let's look in some different ideas. But where I believe that that's important, and it's also important to have people that come up with new ideas. The reason that it's important is because it allows for patience. It allows for us not to go blindly running off a cliff. The flip side of that is that it can also, if we move too slowly or we depend too much on past experience, it can stifle growth. And we just have to understand that. We value security and stability, which can be very difficult when you're a pastor, because sometimes you don't have that. But if you're a pastor, you also hopefully have a belief in your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And if you have that belief in your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, then that's where you find your security and your stability. We take a logical and analytical approach to problems. And where that can help is that it's logical and analytical. Where that can hurt you is that it's logical and analytical. And I'll just give you an example. Sometimes, as an ISTJ, I make that logical and analytical decision, and people are going to be hurt because of it. But as I've weighed my choices, I realize that decision A, people are going to be hurt, and decision B, people may not be hurt immediately, but they're going to be hurt in the long run. And sometimes that can seem cold, and it's not. It's not that I haven't thought through the human effect. I have. But when I look at the human effect and I look at the best decision, I come to that through my logical and analytical way of thinking about it. It says that we tend to put off play and leisure until all of our responsibilities are met. And quite frankly, I'll be totally honest with you. That maybe I have a blind spot here. I just don't understand doing anything else. Just get your work done, and then you'll have plenty of time to pray. If I've got sermon prep to do, I've got sermon prep to do. If I've got visitations to do and I've got sick people to visit, then I've got to do my visitations. If I've got lesson preps to do, then I've got lessons preps to do. You do those things, and then you work first, play later. And I honestly, I'm going to tell you, I don't see any disadvantages. I personally don't. Again, like I said, maybe I have a blind spot there, but I don't see any disadvantages in pastoral ministry to having that attitude. I don't see any disadvantages to having the attitude of prioritizing. Again, I have a schedule that I work with. I know what I want to do each day when I come in. So if it's Tuesday and it's my sermon prep day, I'm sitting down and I'm doing study and I'm preparing my sermon for the next week. Now, it's mostly already prepared because I do a sermon calendar ahead of time. But if I have a member call and that member says, I need so-and-so, or so-and-so is in the hospital, I can prioritize. But I just don't understand the play first, work later attitude. I don't see any benefit in that at all, and I don't see how it can help a person to be a more effective pastor. And that's just the way that I see it. I welcome your comments if you feel differently. It says ISTJs have a strong sense of loyalty, responsibility to their families and their relationships. And that is probably one of the most important and beneficial things of my personality that I think helps me to be a good pastor, is that I actually feel that I have a duty. I feel that I have a responsibility to be the best possible pastor to these individuals. I feel that it is something that I need to do. They have called me. They have a certain expectation of me, and I need to fulfill that expectation. I need to be loyal to them. I need to have them know that as their pastor, they can count on me. I see that as the greatest and most absolute strength that I have as a pastor, and I thank God for that. I thank God for that part of my personality. Some people say that sometimes I can be loyal to a fault, and I have to admit to that. Yeah, I can, but honestly, there's no better feeling for me than to know that my people, the people that God has called me to serve, can depend on me. It says that we as ISTJs may share our humor and our wealth of rich sensing observations and memories with those who are close to us. And that's true. I'd say a deficit for me as a pastor is that it takes me sometimes a little bit of a while to warm up to people and to let them in completely. I would say that I have let most of the people in my congregation get to know most of who I am, but still not totally. And I think where other personality types might have an advantage is that they are more open and I won't even say friendly, because I think I come off as warm and friendly to just about the majority of the people that I meet, but they still don't get to know the totality of who Franklin Ruff is, and from a pastoral standpoint, they don't get to know the totality of who Pastor Franklin Ruff is, and I think sometimes that can be a detriment. Another thing that it says about us as ISTJs, that sometimes we try to help others by pointing out what they are doing wrong. Yes. Something that I am getting better at. And I would say that my relationship as a pastor is not as affected by this, simply because my relationship as a husband has helped me to understand that not only is it important what you say, it's how you say it. So I've gotten to the point where I can suggest a change without saying that you just need to do this another way. I've gotten to a point of saying, well, I was watching this. Have you ever considered, or do you think that this might work also? Rather than just saying, there's a better way to do that. And the reason that is able to happen is because I used to do that all the time with my wife. Why do you do that way? It's a better way. I mean, come on. And she got to the point where she didn't like that very much. So she has, for lack of a better word, trained me into not allowing for that part of my personality to be a detriment, because I can see where it would be. People are eventually going to get tired of you telling them they're doing things wrong, even if they're doing things wrong. We express our caring through actions rather than words, and assume that others notice. And I would even add, and we get annoyed when they don't. I did a video yesterday in which I said talk is cheap. And I feel that it's best for me as a pastor to show my love to the congregation that I've been called to by being there when they need me, by doing the best to be the best pastor that I can be, by being loyal to them. And yes, we do want, as ISTJs, we want to be appreciated, and we expect that others would appreciate us. Sometimes I'd say the detriment of that part of our personality is we have to realize everybody else is at ISTJs, and they're not going to show their appreciation in the same way, and they're not going to be as loyal as what we think they should be. Another thing it says is we always follow through on our commitments to others. And that just goes back to loyalty. And it says we may have difficulty making sense of needs that differ widely from our own. And that is true. And that can be a true detriment to pastoral ministry. And that's why I think my involvement with the MBTI has helped me, so I can understand that a person has a need that is different from a need that I would have. A person has a need to have love and affection shown in a different way from their pastor than I would have. And even if I can't be effective in showing them that, I can find people that are. But the second part of that says, however, once we are convinced that something matters to a person that we care about, that need becomes a reality that must be dealt with, whether it makes sense to us or not. we will try to be generous and meet the need. And that is true because I think, again, the foundation of that goes back to loyalty. Now, when I look at my personality, where do I think my strong and weak points are? I think, again, being an introvert, one of my weak points is that I don't have those natural extroverted tendencies. I can extrovert, but man, does it take a lot out of me. Another thing is organization. And I'm going to just give you an example of why I think organization is a strength, but I'm also going to say it's a weakness. This is my office here, and I want to just show it to you. What we have over here is my bookshelf, and all of my books are organized. That's my Bible section right there. All of those are Bibles. And books on liturgy, that's all. Down at the bottom, probably the most disorganized section, because I just pulled books out of there, is my MBTI section. And you'll see there the Bible of what many call MBTI. Please Understand Me by Kersey. Over here, the top shelf, those are my books on preaching. These would be books on music. These are study guides, word studies, and books on doctrine. Down here would be books on Christian education and Bible dictionaries. Next section would be books on history and parliamentary procedure. And down at the bottom is just special books that I would want to read someday. And then when you look at my desk, that's my desk. Now, why do I bring all of this up? Because I want to talk about the importance of organization to me as an individual. You all got a chance to see my desk. And the reason why that's important is because when you look at that desk, that is how I can work. There are times when that desk is very unorganized. And one of my weaknesses is that I don't work well in disorder. So when that desk is unorganized and disorderly, I have to clean it up. I have to get it orderly and organized in order to be able to work. And honestly, I can't say whether that's a strength or a weakness. It's just a part of my personality. It's a part of who I am. As an ISTJ, we need order, we need structure. Yesterday I did a video on ISTJs and worship, and I talked about the importance of order and structure within our worship. We need order and structure in our lives, and that's why that desk there, I can work there. There will be times when it doesn't look like that, when things get hectic and you've got Bibles and commentaries and lectionaries all over the place, and I find it difficult to work in that environment, so I have to get it clean. And so sometimes that can take time away from the other things that I should be doing. So this is part two, basically talking about me as a pastor. And the reason that I came up with it is because some people they look at the introverted, sensing, thinking, judge, and they say, how is it that you can be effective in the pastoral role? And to me, again, I think our strongest trait is our loyalty. We want to do well for our people, and so we're going to do the best that we can for our people. And I think that loyalty can help to overcome some of the weaknesses that we have in our personality. Other personalities have to overcome weaknesses as well. But I think the main thing that helps me to overcome my weaknesses is my loyalty to my people. I want to do a good job for them. I want to be the pastor that they need. And so it can help me to overcome some of those other things that don't necessarily work as well. Well, that being the case, I just want to say God bless you and God keep you, and I hope that this has been informative for you. God bless.